very aware of the importance of exercise with the elderly and with dementia and how effective that it is. Well, because of this court situation, it did put a huge hamper on her end-of-life rights and our rights as a family. We've lost so many holidays and good times that we would cherish as memories. Photographs we'll never have, events for the grandchildren that we will never have. She wasn't able to attend her grandson's wedding. There were so many things that are gone because of the greed of this court. And my intentions now, I'm still under a semi-guarded visitation. The judge decided to put one of my sons under guarded visitation, who had been with me under guarded visitation. So now I have to wait. It's very inconvenient. I can only manage 1 day a week, where my time allows for every day, which I would like to spend with my mother. But I can only accommodate my son because he has to be with me for this court order. So she loses again. And every time I'm there, she said, when are you coming back? Are you going to come back tomorrow? And there's so many things that we could be doing with her, helping her to help combat the dementia and make her quality of life the best it could possibly be. We're all suffering. When they make a decision for one elderly, the entire family is suffering, and there is no need for that. Suffering usually is found justice in these courts. These courts are not justice. They are creating the problems, creating the suffering, creating the greed, creating the crime and the theft of our families, our elderly. They're stealing our, I have come across many people who have come through this court process, the same judges, the same routine of the criminal aspect, who have lost. They've gone after the beneficiaries' houses that are legally theirs. I actually witnessed an illegal eviction of somebody who they went and evicted them right out of their home that their parents left for them because they were still billing outrageous thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. And they went in, they evicted her, and they moved all of the family heirlooms, the valuables, generations of things on the lawn, told her she could not touch them or step on the lawn or she would be arrested. This was a public administrator who was behind this. And then they took all of her possessions, even her clothing, her jewelry, everything, and put it in a dumpster and took it up to Pontiac, Michigan, to a landfill, including things that I saw go in that truck that are not supposed to be in a landfill. And they dump them and they bury them, roll over, and put dirt on top so there's not a shred of evidence of this crime. Horrible. Anyone stealing a piece of candy, a purse, or anything goes to this same court and goes to jail over there at the sheriff's department. But these people are going into the homes and taking all of your things and your house and your family member, the elder, and they're stealing all of it. It's a complete crime scene here, and it's very active, and it has to stop. I've come across many other victims, and one in Battle Creek, the same thing, same judgment, same scenario, taking the elder, isolating them, appointing a court-appointed guardian, and then if she wanted to see her mother more, she was recently told she had to pay to see her own mother. Who does this? Who does this in these United States? Lady Justice is behind me. The administration of justice is the firmest pillar of government, by George Washington.
What do you think of the public administration going on here?
The public administration is corrupt, and it needs to stop. And it takes everybody, every family, everyone who has an elder in their home or their care, or anyone who respects themselves enough for the quality of life that is entitled to them at the end of their life cycle, to worry about this situation, because we are next. We are big in numbers, and these vultures and predators in here are no different than a child predator or a sexual predator, because they are waiting for you to enter their doors so they can bait and switch you, grab you, isolate you, and then squander your accounts and bill and steal and harass and abuse, and they don't care. It seems to be so it's almost the norm here, and it's been going on for, from what I understand, over 20 years, and it's going on all over the country. It's like a silent code that nobody talks about, nobody wants to break into, because it's so well connected that if there's one snitch, it's almost like a mafia here, that you get in trouble. You're not part of it, and you won't benefit financially. You won't get the jobs. You won't get appointed as a court-appointed lawyer. I reported this to the Adult Protective Services. I reported the situation to the Michigan Attorney General's office. And when I went to court for a hearing, I was told by the other lawyers to the judge, they were upset because I went to those institutions. And the judge turned to those lawyers and said, "What do you want me to do with her?" And I was so appalled. I wish there was newspaper, the FBI, all standing there listening to this. Because I was a snitch, which is typical of a crime organization like the Purple Gang or the Mafia, that I was then punished by the judge. She then said, they said, well, take all her visitation away. And so she did. She abided by them. There was a cooperation between the lawyers and the judge that because she told authorities, we're going to punish her now. So I was banned from seeing my mother at all for just telling on them. I finally went back to court, saw the crime, was my own lawyer, entered pro per, brought in a whole ton of evidence, and spoke up and spoke my mind and spoke for my mother, and it was all on record, and the judge had no choice but to honor the fact that there was no need for supervised visitation. There was never even a need or a reason in the first place. But she did, to appease the bad lawyers and the public administrators, she then made the decision that, well, we'll have her son supervise her.
What are they accusing you of doing that, you're being bullied like this? I mean, are you a mean person? Have you hurt your mom? Have you bullied your son that he's going to be your new babysitter? What is it that they have on you that they think you need to be babysat?
Well, there is nothing. But what happens is they created something when I walked in the door of that courtroom. And apparently, after I was told that, I found out that this is a common excuse that this court uses in order to justify the supervision, the separation, the isolation, and additional money needed, and the reason for a court-appointed public administrator. And the reason that they use is, well, naturally you're coming to court to seek a guardianship because something's not right in your family. Whoever they put down, something's not going well. But it doesn't mean there's rivalry, it doesn't mean there's problems or issues. There's a need for another guardian. So when I went in, I had all the evidence, which was ignored. In fact, on my application, there was a 4-page addition, and on the 4-page addition were the reasons The judge was allowing my brother to cross off anything that didn't look good to him. And I was watching. I couldn't believe my eyes that this was going on. When I constantly asked, I would call up the public administrator guardian, and never in 2 years did I ever get a call back. Never, ever, ever. So questions that I had were ignored. Problems and issues, nothing. And so when the supervisor came, I would ask her, can you tell me why we are under supervision? And one time she said, she looked up and glanced and looked back down to her papers, and she said, sibling rivalry. And I said, sibling rivalry? I said, where does that come into play? And if it's sibling rivalry, why isn't my brother being supervised as well? And she would not answer that. You see, my brother is in charge of the trust. So any checks generated to the public administrator have to come through my brother. And this is the case over and over and over. Like I said, they put the bad guy who's having the problems or abusing, and if he's in control of the money, he becomes innocent. And they push aside the people who are pushing to be the guardian. They push them, they demean them, they put them under supervised visitation to shove them out of the way, while the guardian is squandering the victim's estate. And that is exactly what's happening. They are stealing from my mother. She did not need a public administrator. She had a perfectly capable daughter who's a retired school teacher. This is crime, and it has to stop. It's killing the elderly. They are putting them in situations where they are going to have a slow death, which is going to be accelerated by their actions, by their procedures, and by going against the natural grain of the family taking care of them, the elders. My father was an attorney. He worked in Oakland County, but he was nothing like what I'm seeing today. He was not greedy. He was selfless. He was giving and kind. He was there in his position to help people, which is what attorneys are supposed to be. They're supposed to represent justice in this country. They are the officers of the court. They are supposed to help people who have had injustice get justice. That's not what's happening at all. And if my father were alive today, he would be appalled walking into these courtrooms and seeing how these judges and how these lawyers are behaving, and how they are breaking laws in order to selfishly take money that is not appropriate and not legally given to them, but taken by breaking the law instead of following the law and giving justice.